The sky growled like an old animal, swollen with storm, as the stagecoach rattled across the open plains. Dust curled upward in ghostly trails behind the wheels. The world stretched endless and aching in every direction. Evelyn Harper pressed her forehead against the cracked window, watching lightning dance across the horizon. Each flash whispered the same truth. There was no turning back. The town once said my name like a prayer. Now they spit it like dust. The coach lurched to a stop in front of Hollow Creek's main street, a narrow strip of worn wood, muddy ground, and watchful eyes. The storm was close enough to taste. Thunder trembled through her bones as she stepped down, boots sinking into the dirt. People paused. Conversations died. Looks were exchanged like currency. The air swelled with whispers. That's the mail-order bride. Poor thing. Colt Remington's bride. Does she know who he really is? Evelyn forced her chin higher. She had already survived shame, heartbreak, and abandonment. She would survive this too. But somewhere in her chest, a small, frightened voice trembled. The boarding house door swung open. Prudence Calloway emerged, plump hands on her hips, a smile painted with poison. "Well, aren't you a fragile-looking thing?" she drawled. "Hope you're tougher than you look if you're marrying him." Evelyn swallowed. "When does Colt arrive?" Prudence's eyes glittered with dark delight. "Oh, you'll know when he's here." Minutes passed. The townsfolk lingered, waiting as if hungry for spectacle. Then came the sound. Hoofbeats, strong, unhurried, dangerous that a coal-black horse emerged through the rising wind. Its rider sat tall, broad-shouldered, dark coat flaring with every stride. His presence silenced even the storm. Colt Remington, that he swung off the saddle with effortless power. His hat shadowed his eyes, his jaw sharp and unforgiving. Evelyn's breath caught, not from fear, but from the strange pull of him. He felt like the edge of a cliff, beautiful, deadly, impossible to ignore. He stopped in front of her. For a moment, he said nothing, just studied her, slow and unreadable. Then, in a voice low and rough as gravel, he said, "The louder you scream, the wilder I'll ride." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Evelyn went cold. His words struck like a whip, harsh and threatening. He turned away before she could speak, mounting his horse again. "Let's go," he said flatly. "Storm's coming." No explanation, no greeting, just those words. She climbed onto the wagon behind him, her heart pounding. Wind howled as they left the town behind, dust swirling like spirits around the wheels. That he didn't look back. He didn't speak. He was a wall of silence, and she felt like a prisoner chained to his shadow. The land stretched wide and lonely. Herds of cattle dotted golden grasslands. Fences sprawled like ribs over ancient earth. The sky darkened until the horizon bled into night. The ranch appeared at the crest of a hill, massive, weathered, strangely beautiful. Like a kingdom built by hands that didn't believe in comfort. Inside, the house was clean but empty, bones without flesh. No family pictures, no warmth. Only stillness. Colt lit a lantern. "Your room's down the hall." "Room?" she echoed, startled. He didn't meet her eyes. "You'll sleep separate. I don't touch what isn't offered." She blinked. Confusion warred with fear. He didn't touch? Then why? Why those words in town? Why the threats and whispers? Before she could ask, he added, "You don't owe me anything. You work. You keep to yourself. And don't go near the south barn." "Why not?" He looked at her then, something brief and haunted behind his eyes. "Because I said so." Then he left her with the lantern and a silence so heavy it felt alive. Evelyn sat on the edge of the narrow bed in her new room, the storm finally breaking outside. Rain battered the roof. Wind howled through the cracks. She stared at the walls, the loneliness thick enough to choke on. She thought coming here would end the ache of her past. Instead, it felt like stepping into another cage. She closed her eyes. Memories slid in like knives. Levi, his smile, his promises, his betrayal. She could still hear the townspeople from back home. "You were foolish to love a gambler. You deserved what you got." She ran from that shame. Across states. Across her own heart. Into the arms of a stranger just to escape the echo of their laughter. But Colt Remington was not an escape. He was another kind of storm. The next morning, she moved to the kitchen early, determined not to look weak. The sun rose pink over the plains, soft and gentle, but the ranch was silent as a church. She found Colt already outside, chopping wood with steady, unhurried strikes. Muscles flexed under his shirt, sweat glinting across his temples. He didn't acknowledge her, just worked, relentless and calm, as though the world itself depended on the rhythm of his axe. That a small movement caught her eye. A little girl, maybe 10, peeked from behind the fence. Dark hair, wary eyes. Evelyn knelt. "Hello." The girl didn't speak, but she didn't run. Colt paused his work, noticing. "Tala." The girl stepped back fearfully. His voice softened. "It's all right." Evelyn looked at him. Soft. It was the first time she'd heard his voice gentle. Colt returned to chopping. "She's been here since her folks passed. The town didn't want her." Evelyn's chest ached. She knew what it was to be unwanted. Days passed in slow unease. Colt barely spoke, but he noticed everything. When she struggled to lift a pail, he wordlessly took it. When a door hinge creaked, he fixed it before morning. When she cut her hand cooking, he cleaned the wound with surprising tenderness, then left before she could thank him. He was distance and protection, harshness and care, thunder and quiet. One evening, as the sun bled across the sky, she found him repairing a fence. The air was still, warm, humming with crickets. "Why did you marry me?" she asked honestly. He didn't look up. "Because I needed someone who understood silence." She stared. Silence. He finally met her eyes. Something shattered, unspoken. "The world never stops talking. Never stops judging. I thought maybe you had been judged too." Her breath caught. He hammered the final nail, then walked away. The last light of dusk kissed his shoulders, and for the first time, he didn't look like a monster. He looked tired. Human. That night, thunder rolled in. Rain crashed against the windows. Evelyn woke with a gasp, memories drowning her. Levi's voice. Thunder. Abandonment. She stumbled into the hallway, shaking. Lightning tore across the sky. A door opened. Colt stood there, barefoot, lantern in hand. His silhouette was strong, anchoring. He didn't touch her. He didn't ask. He simply stepped close enough for her to feel his warmth and said quietly, "I won't let the storm take you." Her breath trembled. "I'm right here," he said softly. "I won't move unless you ask me to." So he stayed, silent, steady, a living wall against the thunder. Evelyn wrapped her arms around herself, but for the first time in years, she felt safe. Safe in the presence of a man the world called dangerous. Safe in the arms of a storm. As lightning faded and calm returned, she looked at him differently. Not as a threat, not as a stranger, but as someone who knew pain and chose not to inflict it. In the soft glow of the lantern, he glanced at her. The silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, shared. Maybe storms didn't just destroy. Maybe sometimes they carved new rivers. The sun rose slow and honey gold over the plains, melting away the last threads of storm. Morning light spilled across the ranch like forgiveness, softening every rough edge. Evelyn stood by the window, watching the world wake, and felt something unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Peace, real peace, quiet, gentle, terrifying in its beauty. She found Colt in the yard saddling a horse. He gave a simple nod, nothing more, but the silence between them felt different now, warmer, open. "Teach me to ride?" she asked. He paused, eyebrows lifting slightly in surprise. But he didn't question it. He simply offered his hand to help her mount. His touch was steady, respectful, careful in a way that made her heart ache. They rode through the fields as sunlight poured over them in ribbons of gold. The wind played with her hair, lifting it like wings. She laughed once, soft, startled, as if she had forgotten how. Colt didn't laugh. But he turned his head, and just for a heartbeat his eyes softened with something like wonder. They didn't speak much. They didn't have to. The land became their language. Quiet rides, shared glances, brush of shoulders as they worked. She began to understand the rhythm of him. Wide silence, small kindness, a soul that spoke in actions instead of words. And he began to trust her presence. Sometimes, she caught him watching her when he thought she didn't notice. Not with possession, not with demand, with longing. Satin soft, afraid to break. Yet the town never stopped watching. Every Wednesday she rode into Hollow Creek for supplies. Every Wednesday, eyes followed her, still alive. Blink twice if you're in danger. He'll show his true colors soon. Prudence Calloway never missed her chance. That man is a wildfire, darling. Sooner or later, he'll burn you too. Evelyn set down her basket with calm grace. I don't fear wild things, she said. They're the only things honest. Whispers followed in her wake. But for the first time, she didn't feel small beneath them that night. Colt noticed the lingering tension in her shoulders. What did they say? He asked quietly, eyes unreadable. She hesitated, then met his gaze. Nothing I couldn't handle. A pause. Then the slightest, barely there, curve of his lips. Good. It was the closest she'd ever seen him to a smile. Days bled into weeks. Walls between them thinned. In small ways. Ordinary ways. He handed her his coffee first. She mended his shirts. He showed her how to calm frightened horses with only a touch. She taught Tala how to braid hair, filling the ranch with soft laughter, in a world that had always taken. This place slowly began to give point one evening. While repairing a gate under fading light, Evelyn asked softly, "Why does the town hate you?" Colt didn't look at her. His hammer stilled in his hand. "They don't hate me," he said. "They fear me." Different thing. Silence pressed in. Finally, he exhaled. There was a ranch hand. Mean. Liked hurting things smaller than him. His jaw tightened. One night, he cornered Tala. I stopped him. Evelyn's heartbeat faltered. Did you? Kill him? A shadow passed through his eyes. No. But I wanted to. He stared out at the horizon. The sheriff saw blood. The town saw me standing. They chose the story that fit their fears. Why didn't you tell them the truth? She whispered that he shrugged. People don't want truth. They want stories that make sense of their fear. He turned, met her gaze, so I let them believe the monster existed. As long as she was safe. The world stilled. The evening breeze brushed their skin like a sigh. Evelyn stepped closer. You carry blame so she wouldn't have to. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. She could see it in the quiet ache of him. That night, she sat by the window, staring at the moonlit fields. Colt Remington was not cruel. He was careful, not cold, guarded. A man who shielded others by becoming the villain the world wanted. And something deep within her shifted. One twilight in the barn, they stood close, too close, fixing a broken saddle. Her hand grazed his. He froze. She felt his restraint like a wall trembling on the edge of collapse. He swallowed. If I touch you, he murmured, voice low, I won't be gentle. She stepped toward him, heart wild, breath soft. What if I don't want gentle? He shut his eyes, jaw clenched, fighting himself. When he opened them again, hunger burned there. Fierce, raw, aching. He lifted a hand, hesitated, then tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Not a single touch. Barely there. Yet it stole her breath more than any kiss. But before anything more could break, a voice sliced through the night. Well, look who finally made herself at home. Evelyn spun, Levi, her past in the flesh, smirking, confident, poison in a fine coat. Colt stepped forward, eyes instantly sharp. Who the hell are you? Levi tipped his hat. Name's Levi McGraw. I'm here for my wife. The world tilted. Evelyn's stomach dropped. I am not your wife. His smile widened, charming as a snake. Oh, come now. Don't be shy. You were mine before you ran off to sell yourself to the highest bidder. Colt's fists clenched. The air shifted, thick, electric, dangerous. Levi's eyes gleamed with cruelty. Show him the ring, sweetheart. I owe you nothing, Evelyn said, voice steady even as her hands trembled. Levi chuckled. Oh, but you do. My property. My investment. The word hit like a slap. Colt stepped between them, calm as a loaded gun. You need to leave. Levi's smile dropped. And you need to mind your place, rancher. Their eyes locked. Two storms meeting. Levi leaned close to Colt, smile thin. She'll come home with me, one way or another. He walked away, spurs singing like steel. That night, Evelyn couldn't breathe. Old wounds bled open. Shame crawled up her spine. What if Colt believed him? What if he saw her the way the town once did? Foolish, ruined, used? She sat outside beneath a sky full of stars. Hugging her knees, footsteps approached. Colt sat beside her in silence. Finally, he said, I don't care about your past. Her breath caught. I care about who you are when you look at Tala, when you ride the horses, when you wake up early to make sure the ranch runs smooth. His voice softened to something like reverence. I care about the woman who walks through fire and still speaks with kindness. Tears burned her eyes. I won't let him take you, Colt said quietly. Even if you decide to leave me, I won't let him. The wind stilled, respectful, but Levi was not done. 2 days later. He returned, with a gun. Evelyn was in town when he cornered her by the well, hand gripping her arm tight as iron. Enough games, he snarled. You're coming with me. Let go, she shouted, struggling. Voices rose. Townsfolk stared. No one helped. Levi yanked her closer, eyes blazing. You belong to me. A shadow fell across them. Colt, he stood a few feet away, fury coiled through every muscle. Not loud, not reckless, deadly calm. Let her go, Levi sneered. Or what, cowboy? You'll prove them all right. Show them the monster. Colt's voice dropped to a blade. If you think I care what they think, you haven't been paying attention. Levi pulled his revolver, shoving it toward Evelyn's ribs. Back off, Remington. The street froze. Colt stepped forward anyway, placing himself between Levi and Evelyn. Eyes locked on danger like he'd stared it down 1,000 times. You point that gun at me, Colt said. But understand this. If you hurt her, I won't stop until you can't breathe. Levi cocked the hammer. In that heartbeat. Evelyn did something no one expected. She moved. She grabbed Colt's fallen rifle from the ground, aimed it at Levi with both hands. Eyes burning fire. Let me go, she said, voice shaking. Or I swear to God, I'll send you to hell myself. Levi froze. Sheriff Amos arrived. Gun drawn. Drop it, McGraw. Levi hesitated, then tossed his gun aside. The sheriff cuffed him. Reading rights, dragging him away. As Levi was hauled off, his eyes found Evelyn's. You'll regret this. She stood tall. I already regretted ever loving you. Everything after that is freedom. Silence fell, then slowly. The town began to see, not a weak woman, not a monster rancher, a man who protected. A woman who rose. Colt turned to walk away, but Evelyn grabbed his hand. He looked at her with something raw, pained. You're free now, he said, voice low. You don't owe me anything. She stepped closer. I know. He swallowed. If you leave, I won't stop you. Her eyes widened. Leave? Colt nodded, eyes dropping. You deserve more than this place. More than me. In that moment, she saw him fully. This fierce, gentle, broken man who believed he was unworthy of love. And she did the bravest thing she had ever done. She reached up, placed her hand over his heart. Colt Remington, she whispered. You are the safest place I've ever known. He stared at her, disbelief, hunger, love, all clashing in his eyes. Evelyn. She smiled through tears. You once told me the louder something screams, the wilder you ride. I understand now. He blinked. Understand what? She stepped even closer, breath trembling against his. You weren't talking about fear. You were talking about trust. About riding with something brave enough to run. He held her gaze, the world narrowing to just them. Ride with me, she whispered. I'm not afraid anymore. For the first time, real and unguarded. Colt smiled. He lifted her into his arms, onto his horse, then swung up behind her. The town watched, stunned, as the feared rancher held his wife like something precious. He nudged the horse. Forward, they rode, fast, wild, laughing into the wind, not running from the world, but straight through it. Together, equal storms. Shared sky. One heartbeat. They to the edge of town. She leaned back against him and whispered, let them gossip. He pressed a gentle kiss to her temple. Let them watch. And beneath the endless Wild West sky, two broken souls found freedom in each other's arms. Sometimes the world will name you with its fears, bury you beneath its whispers, and convince you that your scars make you unworthy of gentle things. But hear me, your past does not chain you. The people who broke you do not own your future. Healing is not loud. It grows in quiet moments, in steady hands, in the eyes of someone who sees your wounds and does not flinch. Love is not thunder, it is shelter in the storm. And the bravest thing you will ever do is choose to stay open long enough to be held.